traffic. Hello YouTube, I'm Adam Noyce from Chopper Pilot 5, and here I'm going to talk about something that is very personal, and judging by the title, you already know what I'm talking about, and that is basically what I view Godzilla to be. Here we're going to be talking about what I think Godzilla's character is, what Godzilla means to me, what Godzilla seems to mean to everybody, and so on and so forth down the line. But before I get to that, which I'm pretty sure this is going to be a very lengthy video, because this is one of those videos that's so vague that I could go under any tangent and you know, wind up resolving in the same conclusions. So this would probably be a very lengthy video. But before I get into that, I want to make an announcement here, and that is, Lake of Death is done. It's complete. It's done. Completo. And when I upload it to YouTube, I have decided, as a bit of a tribute to my loyal fans. Loyal fans. That's funny, considering that I only have 112 subscribers, but there are some fans that I really feel are dedicated to Chopper Pilot 5. And before I release it mainstream on YouTube, I'm going to upload it, and I'm going to make it a private video, so that only certain people can watch the movie before everybody else does, and everyone has a chance, those few people have a chance to actually sit down and watch the film before everyone else has the chance to. And I was thinking of a way how to approach this, and the way how I'm approaching this is, I'm looking at the people that leave the most comments on my videos. I look at people who are respectful in their comments, and people who I think deserve to see the movie before, you know, the mainstream YouTube. And so if you don't make the list, please don't unsubscribe or get mad to me. These are just people that I felt deserved to see this movie before the rest of YouTube. Don't worry, everyone will soon get a chance to watch it. And of course, I picked three. I was going to pick 3 people, or 3 subscribers to view it before everyone else, but there's just a few of you that are just really devoted to my videos, and I really thank you for that, so I couldn't leave you out. And there's 2 before I get to you guys that are going to be able to watch this right before everyone else, and I'm going to announce your names. And that is, of course, Zazubaar and Gorzard7. You 2 rock. Like, I'm serious. You 2 just rock my world. The fact that we can have such lengthy conversations about Godzilla just really makes me feel more open, and so on and so forth. I'm not trapped in that closet of darkness because of those 2, and I love it, and they've definitely inspired me to do this. So they get to watch it. Congratulations. So here are the 4 on this little piece of paper here. Here are the 4 that are going to be able to watch Lake of Death before the mainstream before Lake of Death reaches mainstream on YouTube. That is I believe it's pronounced TheWesXpress. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I'll put your name on the video below, or I'll put your names in the description below. TheWesXpress is one. TheWeekle is the next one. And then the next one is Naruhina Fan 1954. Again, if I'm not pronouncing your names right, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to put your names in the description below where you can see it. And finally, we have, oh my god, I don't know how to pronounce this, Superdum64. Again, names in the description. Sorry if I don't pronounce that right, but congratulations, you guys, or girls, whatever. Congratulations, you people get to watch Lake of Death before everyone else does. So, congratulations. Now that that's over, on to the actual video. I guess before I start this, I'm going to just talk about my history with Godzilla. I know I've brought this up in my chats with Zazubaar and so on and so forth, but I really want to talk about it, because I can recall it quite well. It was one very cold Thanksgiving day. And I was in Maine visiting my mother's side of the family, my mother's side of her family in Maine, and I was with my grandparents. And I was 4 years old, and the fact that I can remember this just shows you how much of an epic experience it was for me. And I was down in their basement doing what every 4-year-old does, and that is getting in trouble. And suddenly I hear my father shout from upstairs saying, "Adam, I want you up here." And I was like, oh crap, what did I do? And so I'm up there, I'm soaking my head thinking that I did something wrong, because that's usually what happens if he calls me down there, is that he wants me to either do something or I'm in trouble. And he says, "Adam, I want you to sit down here and I want you to watch this." It was on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" He was like, he said, "I remember watching these when I was a kid in the 70s. And I was like, "Okay." So I sit down and watch it, and I saw the Toho logo pop up, and I was like, "Hey, that looks kind of cool and funky." And then I hear the music start playing, and then I see this giant blob thingy come out of the water from pollution everywhere, and so on and so forth. And suddenly Godzilla versus the smog monster pops up on screen. And that was the first Godzilla film I ever watched. And I remember distinctly being so freaked out by it, but I actually had to look away several times, especially when the smog monster's in the UFO form and flies over those people and they start turning to bones. And it freaked the living shit out of me, I'll be honest. It freaked the living shit out of me, because Hedorah it's one of the creepiest monsters ever. But I remember when Thanksgiving dinner was open, and I never do this, I actually skipped a majority of Thanksgiving dinner. I only ate a little bit, just so I can finish watching Godzilla versus the smog monster. And I did. I sat down and watched the entire thing, and my god, was it awesome. Immediately after that was King Kong versus Godzilla, where, again, you know, Godzilla versus the smog... never mind, I'll get into that a little later, probably. But King Kong vs. Godzilla played, and to be honest, I skipped most of that because I thought it was boring. I just remember watching the final battle being like, "Oh my god, this is the most epic thing I've ever seen. My god." And then that little marathon was over. Then I remember it being like 3 or 4 weeks later on Turner Classic Movies, no less. Godzilla vs. The Thing played, and that was my third Godzilla movie. And I can almost remember which ones. I think the next one was Godzilla 1985, but I couldn't really remember it very much because I was like half asleep when it was on. But my fascination with Godzilla just grew past that, and I'm very happy that my fandom for Godzilla has stayed the same, pretty much the same since then, because Godzilla was something that, you know, to me was pure escapism. You have these two giant monsters that are complete sci-fi, duking it out. You know, what do you want more when you're a kid than watching two giant monsters battling in a city, killing people? Aren't we fucked up, America? But such a great experience watching these movies. And I remember when I was over at my aunt's house, and we were she was having my family over for dinner, and I was drawing pictures of Godzilla battling another monster, and she looked down at me disappointed, and she said, "You know, why are you wasting your time with this when you know that you're going to grow out of it in about 5 years?" And I'm very happy that that is not true. My love for Godzilla has not diminished at all. My love for Godzilla instead has grown significantly ever since I was a kid. And that's because, again, I'm doing research on these movies and actually learning about the people who make them. Shiro Honda, Iji Tsuburaya, Tony Tanaka, Akira Fukube, and tons of other people there's just so many people that I learned about. Teruyushi Nakano, so on and so forth, Masaru Sato, so on and so forth, that there's just so many of them that I know about now that I can't list them all off. And that stuff really gets me going. And above that, I'm also listening to the audio commentaries. Like, not just a little bit before recording this video, I was watching the audio commentary by David Callatt for Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. Stuff like that just draws my attention to the movies and makes me like them even more. And it seems like every single time I watch these Godzilla movies, of course, with the exceptions of a few, cough, Godzilla's Revenge, I like them even more. Every single time I watch these movies, I learn to like them more, and they are so enjoyable to watch. They are, well, they're fun. Most of them are fun. Most of them are just really great escapism. And then some of them have really dark tones that make you question your philosophy, that makes you question your way of life, and stuff like that, but it all makes a good sci-fi film. And Godzilla is clearly no exception. So, to me, who is Godzilla? To me, Godzilla is a mixture of characters. The first few Godzillas, and this goes into the Heisei Godzilla and into the Millennium, and the few in the Millennium. The first Godzilla was born of imagination, and the first Godzilla was truly this beast born from nuclear, from our fright of the Cold War and nuclear annihilation, just in the back of our minds every single day because of the Cold War between the Soviets and the United States. And Godzilla is our fear being brought up and actually seeing the fear on screen. Because Godzilla was born of those nuclear bombs, and he literally is a walking nuclear bomb. And that is explicitly brought up in the first Godzilla movie, Godzilla, made in 1954. The one that started it all. And that movie is so frightening, so scary. And the one scene that always sticks out in my head the most, that nearly wants me to break down every time I watch it, is the one where the mother's holding her kids, and she's like, and a little bit further now we will be with Dad in heaven, or something like that. And that scene, that single premise there, just really embodies the horrors of what Godzilla is, and that is the fact that he is a walking nuclear bomb. And when a nuclear bomb explodes, it pretty much destroys the city in the blink of an eye. Now this is what made Godzilla frightening. Godzilla is that nuclear bomb exploding, but in slow motion. You literally see the destruction that he's doing, just like every other atomic bomb does, but much, much slower. So you actually feel and hear the devastation more, which is truly frightening. And especially for the Japanese at that time, since this is only 9 years after the end of World War II, it's apparent. And it throws just about everything back into the faces of the Japanese citizen. And it's actually brought up a little bit in Godzilla Raids Again, which you've heard Zazubaar and I talking about Godzilla Raids Again, and we don't really like it too much. One of the most haunting scenes in that movie is when it's in the Japanese version, and the American version completely ruins this, which I'll get into the American versions of pretty much all the Godzilla movies later, and after I talk about the Japanese versions. And in the Japanese version, there's a scene where the evacuation order has just been given to Osaka and Godzilla's approaching. And all you hear are these jets. And then you see these black silhouettes of them flying over the city. And you just hear the air raid sirens in the background. That is really throwing World War II back in the faces of the audience, of the Japanese audience. It wasn't as significant over in America because we never really experienced that. But just imagine sitting in the movie theaters watching Godzilla Raids Again, and just being forced to remember this is truly something haunting, and that I feel they really did a good job with Godzilla Raids Again. And this can go for quite a few of the Godzilla movies. Even Godzilla 1984 has that aspect of, you can't forget the past. And it's so true, and even in GMK, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, you have that sense that you can't forget the past, or else you're just going to repeat it. And Godzilla embodies that. Godzilla is the past, rewoken, reanimated. And he's now destroying us because of it. And that's something that I love about this Godzilla, about Godzilla, is that he is literally imagination. I'm going to keep saying that throughout the entire video, is that he is the human imagination exploding on screen. He is the human fear exploding on screen. A lot of people question Godzilla's transformation into a good guy in the mid-60s into the mid-70s. And a lot of people question that. They actually look down upon a lot of those films. And you know what? For a while there I was too. Godzilla was supposed to be this evil monster, not this friend of Earth. And he's destroying stuff. And he destroys stuff because he hates humanity so much. Well, looking back at that, I realized what a jerk I was for thinking that. And I might be talking blasphemy here for quite a few of the Godzilla fans, but I actually like Godzilla better in the Showa series when he starts becoming a human. Well, of course I don't like him better, but when he starts becoming good, I began to look at it like this instead. I began to look at it as like, oh, now this is cool. This could symbolize, I believe actually, that it symbolizes hope for humanity. Godzilla turns from this thing that is destroying humanity into hope, which is apparent in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. Because, let's face it, in Mothra vs. Godzilla, he's evil and gets his ass kicked by Mothra. Then in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, he's still evil. He's duking it out with Rodan. In fact, if it wasn't for Mothra, Rodan and Godzilla still would have been evil for movies to come down the road. Now, I like it when they turn good, because it shows, to me anyways, it shows that there is still hope. Even during the darkest places in time, during when times seem that they cannot get any darker, Godzilla is a case of this, where he could not get any darker. Suddenly he sees the light, and he changes and realizes that, you know, life can't be this evil. I can't be this evil. I need to learn to protect what I love. And so he does. He turns good. And he becomes that friend of Earth. And I love it. I love the fact that Godzilla has done that, has succeeded at doing that. And to me, it just embodies that there is hope in humanity. Especially during a time of the Cold War where it seems like everyone was bad. Everyone just wanted to blow each other up. There was a nuclear arms race. There was a military race. Everything that was going on. There was always the tension of who's going to press the button first that's going to blow up the Earth. And it showed there, more than anything in Godzilla, that there is still hope in humanity. Which I would like to go to the unmade Godzilla vs. the Devil. This is what I believe to have happened, what would have happened, and that is God chooses Godzilla to fight the devil. Because of that reason. Godzilla was once an evil, evil monster bent on destroying the world, and then suddenly he grows good. He grows for the better. Now, again, since we're on the topic of religion, I would like to compare Godzilla to Barabbas. And let's compare it to that. For those of you who don't know the Bible, and don't think I'm enforcing that this is what happened, I will admit that I am an Episcopalian. I am a member of the Christian sect, so sorry about that. But let's compare it to the story here. Jesus is put on trial, and due to Jewish customs, the Jewish people get to, I believe, ask for somebody to be pardoned, and they choose Barabbas, and Jesus is crucified. Now let's look at Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster here, and I'm not saying that this is what they were going for at all, it's just this is a parallel that I noticed in story structure. Now let's look at Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. What gets Godzilla to turn good? He sees this moth, this little tiny moth, not even a moth larvae, Mothra, go and duke it out with this three-headed golden dragon with two tails and can spit lightning out of its mouth. This little tiny moth going up against this other monster more than twice its size. And again, why am I comparing this to the story of Jesus and the story of Barabbas? I'm comparing these two because Barabbas looks at what Jesus has done, this man, what he has done, and it changes his life. Instead of being this murderer, this rapist, this person who's preaching revolution, he begins to change his ways into a good person and become a good, decent person. while watching Jesus getting crucified that changes Barabbas' life for the better. Now, Godzilla sees this happening to Mothra, except Mothra is going up against this giant monster and is getting his ass kicked. And Godzilla does the same thing. He has the same reaction as Barabbas does. So that's just an interesting bit of ideology for me, anyway. So for what I've got of that movie, was it meant to be that way? Probably not. Actually, most likely not. But that's just a good comparison that I was able to find out between this religious story, this great religious story, and Godzilla, which is really awkward. You never really think that you get religion and Godzilla in the same topic, but it's I think that'll be probably one of the only times that I actually do that. So, if not the only time. Now, I've lost my train of thought because I'm talking about the Bible and Godzilla. You see, this is again one of those conversations that you can't get on a tangent. Any tangent, and still make a lot of sense. Now, with Godzilla, with his transformation to the good side, you really learn, again, this is just me wrapping up my opinions on that, Godzilla is the good. He is a person, he is a character that was evil and bad and wanted to just kill everything. And now he's good. Completely good. Ah, feel the wind. It's a beautiful day here in Jefferson, New Hampshire. Natural AC. And a lot of people actually critique Godzilla that it was because of his transformation to good that led to the downfall of Godzilla in the 70s. I don't believe that at all. I believe it was just a changing of times that led to the downfall of Godzilla, or basically the kaiju film in general. Because audiences now were so into TV during the late 60s and early 70s that they began to just not want to watch these movies in theaters anymore. And so, naturally, as time progressed, the Godzilla movies began to do less good in the box office. They began to do poorer and poorer and poorer. And so naturally, because they were doing poorer and poorer and poorer, their budgets, every single time that they would make a Godzilla movie, would get poorer and poorer and poorer. And that, to me, is what led to the downfall of Godzilla in the late 70s. Mid-70s, sorry. Back on Godzilla as a good guy, one of my favorite examples of Godzilla being a good guy is actually on the beginning of the final battle on Destroy All Monsters. Notice what Godzilla is doing. Like, you can almost picture this, and it's almost shot like this too. I can almost picture somebody on YouTube dubbing this scene over with the speech that Aragorn gives his troops at the end of Return of the King, that inspiring speech. I can see in your eyes the same fate that will take the heart of me, so on and so forth. And dubbing into the scene, because look at Godzilla. Godzilla has his entire buddies. All of his, you got Gorosaurus, Anguirus, Varan, Kamacutus. We have, no, not Kamacutus, Kamangu, Rodan. We have all these monsters, just getting ready to fight the Keylocks. And there's Godzilla in front of them all, just pacing back and forth like he's ready to lead this fight. And that really speaks to him that he is the king of the monsters. He is their leader. And that's what's so fun with these movies, is that they give Godzilla such a good character. And even in Son of Godzilla, which many consider to be one of the worst Godzilla movies, which I personally consider it to be one of the best, there's the scene where the entire time Godzilla is basically this asshole to Minla. And you know what I think? And I truly mean this. I believe that Son of Godzilla was made to tell basically teenagers to have protected sex. Speaking of sex, I love how a lot of people treat their first Godzilla experience like basically the first time they have sex. It's so funny. Not only that, but it's like when you first watch your Godzilla movie, the die-hard G fan will always remember where they were, like around what time it was on, what were their reactions to it. And it's like they're completely changed because of it. So it's like they treat it like it's basically the first time that they had sex. Anyways, back on topic of Son of Godzilla. Son of Godzilla, I think, means just to have teenagers have protected sex. Which, so funny, because clearly Godzilla is not prepared to be a father. And that's what's so funny in that movie, is that Godzilla is not prepared to have a son. I mean, just look at the first scene that he's in. He beats him up by mistake, and he leaves him there and drags him up by his friggin' tail. It's so funny. He's sleeping while Minya is just jumping back and forth, which to me is one of the cutest scenes in any Godzilla movie. And it's so funny. It's so well done. To me, that movie is so well done. It does a lot to Godzilla's character, because Godzilla almost seems annoyed by the fact that he has a son now. And it's not until the very ending that you learn about Godzilla, that you learn that he truly is a good guy. That Godzilla is finally sort of swallowed up saying, you know what, I have a son now. Time to grow the fuck up, Godzilla. And he does. And it truly, as I said in my top 10 favorite G-scenes of Zazubaar, he just cuddles with him, because Minya is probably going to freeze to death. And Godzilla goes back, turns around, and cuddles with Minla, and they both fall asleep together. They go into hibernation together. And to me, that embodies who Godzilla is in the 60s and 70s. In a nutshell, that entire scene, that he's this tough character that is going to duke it out and do anything, really. But really, he will protect the things that he loves. And in many ways, Japan is what he loves, because he always defends Japan against, other space monsters like Ghidra, Gigan, Megalon, Mechagodzilla, and so on and so forth. So Japan is really what he loves, and Minla is something that he loves. And despite him having friends like Anguirus, Rodan, and so on and so forth, which I do love, that he considers. I think that Toho considers that Rodan and Anguirus are Godzilla's greatest friends. Minla truly is, I believe, the only monster that he really loves. And I love how I'm overthinking this. I'm pretty sure, 90% sure that I'm overthinking this. But this is just what I've gotten out of watching the series over and over and over and over and over again. You could really go on forever about who is Godzilla and what Godzilla is. And no matter what, your opinion is right. Because, again, it's like interpreting a painting. And when interpreting a painting, you can go anywhere with it. Two people could see totally different things. An example I would like to bring up is what a lot of language arts teachers, English teachers, do today. They read a book, and there's a scene where this girl walks into the room crying, and the curtains are blue. The teacher cries and complains that the curtains are blue because she is depressed, and that the whole world is just depressing. While the author is sitting there laughing, saying, no, my favorite color is the color blue. So no matter what happens, and it's like when you take a movie and make it, or when you take a book and make it into a movie. I get in fights with my teacher all the time about To Kill a Mockingbird. The movie To Kill a Mockingbird, which to me is one of the greatest films of all time, and I actually like the movie a hell of a lot better than the book. But, To Kill a Mockingbird, the movie, is just literally some guy's interpretation of the book To Kill a Mockingbird. Which is, again, can be viewed as, how do you interpret Godzilla? How I interpret Godzilla, it could be something completely different than what half of you guys agree on. In fact, I would like it if you guys don't agree with me on this and leave comments, just being respectful about it. Excuse me. And so on and so forth. And so no matter which way we interpret Godzilla, we all agree on one crucial fact, and that is Godzilla is awesome. No matter what you look at Godzilla to be, you look at him as an awesome character. Something that has influenced your life. A character that you love. A character that you grew up with. A character that is as much as a father figure as your actual father is. And that's one thing that I like about Godzilla, is that he's so influential. As we all know, I want to be a film director, and I'm going to be a film director. And as much as I have to give credit to the original King Kong and the remake in '05, to me, truly wanted to be a film director, I cannot go without saying Gojira is a part of it too. Or Godzilla. Basically all the Godzilla movies are a part of it too. Sure, there's other influences, like Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai and High and Low, Sidney Lumet's Failsafe, Sergei Bondarchuk's War and Peace, Misaki Kobayashi's The Human Conditions. I could go on forever about who has influenced me, but I cannot deny that the original Godzilla, actually all the Godzillas, inspired me into wanting to become a film director, somebody who can rely on visual effects to tell a story, even though a good story would be required. But and that's really what makes Godzilla so fun, is that with the power of visual effects, we get a character. With the power of visual effects, we get a character. And it really hasn't been done much before in that way. I mean, sure, we got it with King Kong, but not with a guy in a rubber lizard suit. And it's just that cool that they were able to get a story out of that, out of basically nothing, and get a good character out of it, which is great. Now, what is Godzilla to me? That is a very good question. I don't know how to tackle that. So I'm going to tackle that as how I see it in my Godzilla movies, my 4 Godzilla movies. Godzilla and King Kong, Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Titanosaurus, and Attack Godzilla. What is Godzilla? I explained that there are 2 species of Godzillas, or known Godzillas, in my first book, and that I explained that there is a bigger species that lived where North America was during the time Godzillosauruses were existing, and there was the Asian one, which would be the case of one attacking Tokyo in 1954. The Godzilla that awakens in my first book is a member of that other species, and we discover that Godzilla is a very social animal. I almost compare them, I do compare them to wolves. I say they're like a pack. They work in teams. They're smart. So basically like the T-Rex version of velociraptors. And I explained that they are very social animals, which is one reason why Godzilla is so pissed off at humanity for reviving him, for making him such a monstrosity, and that's why he's bent on destroying humans. He's bent on killing humans. Minla, on the other hand, is an Asian version of the Godzillosaurus, and he's smaller. Of course, he's going to be smaller because of that. And the reason why he's attracted to this other Godzilla is because, again, they're a social animal. They are social creatures. And so the fact that there's a very touching scene in my story that where Godzilla and Minla meet for the first time. And it's all nice and quiet, and the music gets really somber and so on and so forth, and they're just happy that they're together. There's another member of the same species, or somewhat of the same species, together, and so they're able to communicate, and so on and so forth. And that's what makes it Godzilla all the more tragic, is that he is this lonely creature that was born of our mistakes, and that's why he's the way he is. Despite the fact that he's killing God knows how many people, the audience has no choice but to sympathize with this creature because of the fact that he is alone and he's scared. Well, he's not so much scared as much as he's just so sad and so angry at our mistakes that well, it's hard to explain, but we feel sympathy for him. And I bring it up in Godzilla vs. Biollante. Biollante, again, was born of Godzilla's cells, which I won't get into the entire organization because that could be a video on its own. But Biollante is this extremely smart creature, and it realizes right off the back that the only thing that could compete with it is Godzilla. And so what does it do? It calls for Godzilla. It tricks Godzilla and to go in searching for, which Godzilla, again, is this lonely creature. Like, come on, give me some companionship. Come on, I want another member of my species. And it's like, oh my god, there's another member here, so it gets tricked by Biollante. And Biollante tries to kill it. And it's from that moment forward that Godzilla really becomes this dark creature. Like, I almost make it that Godzilla has some shred of humanity left in him. Like, he could become good. Or like an anti-hero. Like what Zazubaar wants to do in his series. He could become this anti-hero. But because of what Biollante does, he doesn't. He loses all faith in everything. And so from that moment forward, Godzilla's one and only purpose is to kill humans. Which makes the Godzilla character all the more tragic. One of my favorite scenes in my series, I got specifically inspired by the death of Shindo in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. But I explained that there is this character in my first Godzilla story, Godzilla and King Kong, that there is this little Japanese, 14-year-old Japanese kid, who his parents were killed during the fight between Kong and Godzilla. Minla is lying dead on the ground, which Minla becomes Godzilla in my next 3 books, just to clarify that right now. And Minla's lying there on the ground, jaw broken. And him and this kid make eye contact. And then Minla dies. Now cut to the last story. The last story, we discover that this kid is now the dictator of Japan, which I will not explain how he became dictator. It's really complicated, but he does. And he realizes this kid, which I've named Ishiro Honda, after Ishiro Honda. And his kid, or now the dictator, Mr. Honda, now knows that everything that he's done is wrong. And he's sad because he's built these nuclear reactors and stuff. Because of what he did to rebuild Japan after this horrible natural disaster, is now leading to their own destruction because of Godzilla, the creature that he sympathized with as a kid. And so there was a scene where Mr. Honda calls up his friends, and he says, "I'm still in this building while Godzilla's attacking Tokyo, getting ready for the final battle." And this is my favorite scene in terms of Godzilla characterization in my story. He walks up to the window, and Godzilla turns and looks at him. And they remember each other. And for the first time in my entire story, Godzilla actually looks sad that he has to do what he's decided to do. And that is kill humanity. Now, Mr. Honda wants to die. The only way that Mr. Honda is going to redeem himself is to die. And he says, what better way to die than to die at the hands of what is destroying this country? But not only that, but the fact that this is the monster that he sympathized with so much as a child and growing up. It makes it the utmost more tragic for this character. Of course, Godzilla winds up killing him. And once that happens, Godzilla changes. No, he doesn't. I completely lost my train of thought. But once that happens, Godzilla, for the first time ever, he looks sad, and that he has to do what he was born to do, and that is kill. And so that is just a perfect moment of Godzilla characterization, and that's what's so cool with Godzilla. Though the human characters are important, it is just as important that we focus on the characterization of Godzilla himself. Because it isn't so much the human characters that are the main characters, it's Godzilla. Godzilla is that monster that... Well, Godzilla isn't a monster. Sure, he is. Let's face it, he is a monster, but he's more than that to the majority of G fans. As I've said earlier here, he's this he is just really, he's like a father figure to a lot of us. He is a character that really just symbolizes our imagination towards life. A character that really resembles our view on humanity. That he's such a great character because of that. He is everything. He is love. He is hate. Godzilla is everything. He's every emotion. Godzilla to me is just as human as half of the characters in all the movies, if not more human. Godzilla is a flawed individual, which makes me like him even more. And that's what makes his character so powerful, is that he is this flawed individual. He's trying to find himself just as much as us in our teenage years try to find out who we are. So I'm going to wrap this video up by saying this. Godzilla is one of the greatest things to ever be created in the minds of the imagination of anybody. Godzilla is a character that we all love. Godzilla is a character that we all can sympathize with. Godzilla is a character that we all love and adore and admire. But above all, wait for this chart to go by. Godzilla is a character that we all relate to. He is a character. He's not just some monster of the year destroying Tokyo and Osaka or some other building or some other city. He's a character. So I thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment, love it, like it, subscribe, and God bless you all. Sayonara.